And we are back. We're gonna do the story Interventions Are Magic. It is by Butterscotch Sunday. It is almost 2200 words, and the description is as follows. Twilight Sparkle's drinking problems lead her friends to organize an intervention at the Sugar Cube Corner. But things get out of control when Twilight Sparkle decides the time has come to tell some truth about themselves. So this is gonna be Interventions Are Magic by Butterscotch Sunday. Come on, Twilight! Every pony's waiting at the Sugar Cube Corner. Spike had had to drag Twilight from the library, where she had spent the evening reading and drinking, mostly drinking. He'd found herself curled up on the couch, nursing a bottle of vanilla lemon vodka. On the floor, a pile of crumpled up books and empty bottles. She'd resisted every effort of his to get her to come with him. He tried to pull her away by her tail at first, but when that hadn't worked, he had pushed her on her rump as she dug her hooves in stubbornly. But now she had finally given up and was walking alongside him, and he swaying as she went.
At what? Where? Sugar Cube Corner?
She slurred. After half a bottle of vodka, Twilight was 3 streets to the wind, and she found it difficult to put a hoof in front of the other. In fact, she threatened to tangle up the underneath at any moment, and she was glad of Spike's help in keeping her upright.
Why do we have to go there?
It's a surprise, explained Spike.
A surprise?
Twilight crinked her brow. The little purple dragon guy wasn't making any sense.
You mean a surprise party? Right? For me?
Twilight wasn't sure. She had really wished she had that bottle of vodka right now. Maybe there'd be some liquor at the party. She broke away from Spike and in a trot, and the little dragon shrugged to catch up as she zigzagged along the street. He said in his head, "Oh, Twilight, you make me so worried when you do this to yourself." The door to the Sugar Cube Corner opened, and a light spilled into the dark street. Pinkie was there waiting for them. "Surprise!" she cried, leading a blinking Twilight into the bakery. The unicorn pony looked about the room blaringly. Where were the decorations? Where were the party snacks? And most importantly, where was the booze? The room was stark and empty, except for the 5 ponies that always hung around with her. They were standing in a semicircle, smiling at her with suspiciously bright and friendly smiles. The insane pink pony that had opened the door, one with the hat, that snooty unicorn, the boring one with the pink mane, and the other Pegasus that was probably a lesbian. "Welcome to your intervention," they all said in unison, rushing up and mobbing her.
Welcome to my... what now?
She asked. Then the nuzzling of their nuzzles and the touch of their hooves made her feel suddenly queasy. "Your intervention," replied Pinkie Pie. "You see, all your friends have been super duper worried about you and your little drinky winky problem recently, so we're here to help you out."
What the hell is all this?
Twilight looked up. So this wasn't a surprise party? She had finally noticed a huge banner hanging there saying, "Welcome to your intervention, Twilight," painted on it.
Oh look, you made a banner and everything. I'm so touched. Here, let me sit down a minute.
The room had started to spin around, and she felt her stomach churn. But sitting on the chair that Applejack pushed in for her made her feel a bit better.
You see, Sugar Cube,
said Applejack, once a healthy color had returned to the purple unicorn's face.
We've all been noticing lately how much you've been drinking. Drinking? Is that all this is about?
Twilight shook her head.
You dragged me away from my science for this?
She started to get up, but Rainbow Dash gently stopped her. "You have a problem, Twilight," Dash said, helping her back down onto the chair. "And we want to help you with it."
"We just want you to know that we all love you, Twilight,"
said Fluttershy.
"We are all here for you, darling,"
added Rarity.
"That's for darn sure,"
agreed Applejack. We can all get through this together," said Spike. Twilight looked from one pony to the next. What the hell were they talking about? So, she had a few drinks now and again. Who could blame her? After a hard day of scientific inquiry, writing reports on friendship to the Princess Celestia, she deserved to be able to relax. What business did this bunch of multicolored little ponies have to do with what she did in her spare time? It wasn't like she drank to any excess or anything. Her friends looked at each other. Finally, Pinkie hopped over to her and put on a beaming pink face right next to Twilight. "Oh, Twilight!" she said jauntily. "Don't you know?" The pink pony began to bounce up and down, and the music piped in from Celestia knew where and started to play. Pinkie Pie sang. "It's alright to have a snifter or two. No one will blame you. It's just what you do. But when you drink but when you drink a mite too much." Twilight was out of her chair in a flash, and she leapt onto the pink pony mid-bounce, and she pinned her to the ground.
If you keep singing Pinkie Pie, I swear I'll put my horn right through that smiling face of yours.
Pinkie Pie giggled. "Oh, Twilight!" She tapped on her hoof with a chin, on the chin with a hoof. "You're such a kidder!" The other ponies had momentarily been stunned by Twilight's leap, but then Applejack and Dash galloped over, snatching Twilight's tail in their mouths, and they pulled her off of Pinkie. She struggled, but then resigned herself to being dragged away.
Okay, alright. Sorry. That was a bit of an overreaction.
Apologized Twilight.
You promise to quieten down, Twi?
Asked Applejack. Twilight nodded.
Yeah. Just please, Pinkie. No singing.
The pink pony seemed disappointed and started to protest, but Rainbow Dash glared at her, and she zipped her mouth shut. After Applejack and Dash let her go, Twilight dusted herself off and sat back down on the chair. Fluttershy came forward first.
I just want you to know that I love you, Twilight Sparkle.
Twilight rolled her eyes.
Oh, please.
Fluttershy continued, daunted.
But I hate it when you drink. You just become a totally different pony when you do.
Tears welled up in the Pegasus pony's eyes.
I just want to have the old Twilight Sparkle back.
I don't have a problem.
Twilight shouted as she railed against the other ponies.
You're all just overreacting. The whole lot of you.
She indicated all of them with a sweep of the hoof, but in doing so she fell off the chair and banged her head on the floor. The other ponies gasped, and Twilight struggled onto her feet.
I'm alright, every pony.
Twilight said. She raised the hoof to her temple to touch it gingerly.
Blood?
Oh dear,
Said Fluttershy in alarm.
I'll just go get the first aid kit and clean that up.
Twilight turned to the pink-mirrored Pegasus pony, her face black with rage.
Of course you will, won't you? Little miss, I'm the element of kindness. I'm so kind and nice and gentle, and you make me physically sick.
As Fluttershy jumped back, shivering at Twilight's violent outburst, the unicorn pony continued her range, stumbled towards the others.
You all make me sick.
She pointed to each of the horrified ponies in turn.
You, Rainbow Dash,
She cried.
I've been meaning to tell you this for a long time. I know it's you who's been spying on me while I'm in the shower.
Dash stepped back from the livid unicorn pony, a guilty smile on her blushing face. You got it all wrong, Twilight Sparkle. It's not like that.
I saw you hovering outside my window.
Twilight snarled.
Who else is it going to be? Fluttershy?
The others looked at Fluttershy, whose ears were folded back in fear.
And you, Pinkie Pie?
Twilight lunged over to where Pinkie Pie was still smiling cluelessly.
You have the gall to say I have a drinking problem? You, a pony with an obvious eating disorder, who is clearly on drugs?
Pinkie tilted her head quizzically. Bugs?
Drugs!
Screamed Twilight. Applejack approached tentatively, a nervous smile on her face.
Now, Twi, I know you're might annoyed at the moment.
Twilight glared at her.
Oh, thanks for your concern, AJ.
She said in a voice dripping with irony.
Are we going to be treated to some of your more trademark honesty? I can't wait.
Applejack looked hurt.
Look, Twi, you can't keep lying to yourself about your drinking. Me? I'm the one lying to myself?
Twilight started laughing.
With you and Miss Vogue here, you have the guts to say I'm lying to myself? We all know that you guys get up on those camping trips in the Swayback Mountains.
Rarity and Applejack looked at each other, and Rarity blushed deeply. Fluttershy gasped in horror.
Oh, shut up, Fluttershy,
spat Twilight.
You've got nothing to worry about. No pony's going to touch you, 'cause you're so Celestia damned boring.
Rainbow Dash started to approach her, but Twilight backed away into the corner of her room. Twilight, you've got to calm down, Dash said, but Twilight shook her head.
Don't you come near me, Rainbow Dash. I've got a horn here, and I know how to use it.
Twilight stabbed at the air with her horn, and Rainbow Dash jumped back. The pony stood still and watched, too terrified to come close, as she continued to stab in their direction with her horn. But then Spike ran up to her, and dodged her various stabs, as he threw his arms around her neck and shouted, Twilight, don't do this! Please, Twilight! Twilight! She was just about to shake him off with a toss from her neck, but as she tried, her violet eyes met his green ones, and then she saw herself reflected in them. A face as twisted and hate-filled as nightmare moons had been when all of them had fought her to free Princess Celestia and Equestria from eternal night. And there was no fear or anger in Spike's, just love and forgiveness. As suddenly as the alcohol-fueled rage had swelled up in her, it drained away, and she fell to her knees. Spike's arms still stretched around her neck. She started to cry and lay her head down in the little dragon's lap. Shh, shh. It's okay, Twilight. No pony's angry, said Spike softly, stroking his mane. The other ponies came forward. Twilight lifted her head and looked at them, but turned away, filled with guilt and remorse.
You all hate me,
she wept.
Oh, Shug, none of us hate you,
said Applejack.
We just want to do the right thing by you.
There's no shame in asking for help, darling,
said Rarity.
Even the best of us needs help at some time or other.
That's right.
Nodded Fluttershy.
That's what friends are for.
Why, without you, Twilight, piped Pinky up cheerily. The rest of us are like a party without balloons, or streamers, or those little cocktail weenies no pony likes. Rainbow Dash nodded. Pinky's totally right. Without your magic, we got nothing. Twilight sniffed, looked at the smiling faces of each of her friends in turn, but then she burst into tears again. But this time, they were tears of joy.
You guys are the best friends ever,
she laughed.
Dear Princess Celestia, today I learned that your friends are always there for you, and that although sometimes you might not appreciate their help at first, it's important to trust them, because your friends can often see things in you that you can't, or don't want to, see yourself. And you need them to tell it to you straight, even though it might hurt at first, because what they're telling you is from the heart. Your faithful student, Twilight Sparkle.
And from that day forth, Twilight stopped drinking alone, and became strictly a social drinker, except after winter wrap-up, when she had sometimes sneaked three extra shots of brandy into her eggnog. She did, however, become addicted to special muffins that Pinkie Pie had baked especially for Derpy the male pony. The special ingredient, told Pinkie with a wink, are the little funny leaves from these plants I find growing in the Everfree Forest. But that's a story for another time. The end.